I guess so. I don't know.
Even if it ain't, guess what?
We're going to be rolling with it anyway.
Cool.
It does look real cool.
All right.
Okay.
Wait. Check. Mic phone. Check. Yep, I'm ready.
Okay.
Hey, but for real, that's a cord that's right in front of my face.
I'm just going to turn that screen around so then you can't see yourself at all.
Who don't want to see that?
I think you're not supposed to be looking at your... See, that's always been the problem, is you always look at yourself and not the camera.
Oh, I'm supposed to look at you?
No, you see the lens.
You know what they ought to do? They ought to put the camera right over the top of the lens. That way people are looking right at the lens.
But then it'd look like people are looking at...
No, it look like people looking at the lens. Like this.
So do I need to close that screen?
No, I look good in it.
Okay, well, don't stare at yourself.
Let's get ready. Play the music.
You ready? There is no music.
Cue the music.
All right, music's cued. Welcome to the very first episode of the Naked Proverbs podcast, where we unclothe the truth about Black love, family, and marriage. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with my wonderful husband.
What's going on? This your boy Rich, and we are about to share with y'all amazing tips on how to have a wonderful marriage.
Absolutely. So in honor of our 18th wedding anniversary, today we have been married for 18 years. In this episode, we're giving you our top 18 tips for a happy marriage. Okay?
Don't tune out. Go ahead, turn up the volume, and make sure you pay attention. Because being all in real seriousness right now, these tips may be the difference between you making it and you throwing in the towel.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect time for us to let our listeners know that we are not professional therapists or counselors.
No, dog.
We've just been in this thing for a long time and we've experienced some things, and I would say that we're happier now at year 18 than we were at year 1.
I would agree. I would totally agree. I love you more now than the day that I asked you to marry me.
I agree with that too. Absolutely. So because this is our first episode, and I know, there's many more to come, but this is not Rich and I's first rodeo together. So I'm going to hip y'all to some game here real quick, right at the very beginning. Make sure that you subscribe to Naked Proverbs on whatever podcast platform you listen to your podcast on. And we also would love for you to rate and leave your comments. That will help us out very much, even right at the very beginning. Also, we have a Patreon page. So if you like what you're going to hear, and we know that you're going to like what you hear, make sure that you show us some love and support by becoming a patron. And you can get all of those details on our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/Naked Proverbs.
Can we get to some nitty gritty here? Let's do some chitting and some chatting.
Let's do it.
How did we meet? You want my story or your story?
Because they're different. Mine is the real story.
Well, that's what you believe. I'm going to share my story. So I met my wife back in 1996 at Clark Atlanta University. I am sitting in speech class, and it's the first day of classes. I'm there early because you're going to find out over the life of this podcast, that's who I am, right? I'm not late. So I'm sitting there, and the professor says, hey, everybody needs to partner up. We are going to do this, assignment
icebreaker.
Okay, it was an icebreaker, where everybody's going to tell something interesting about themselves. So I, unluckily enough, end up in a group of 3 because there weren't enough people to pair up in 2s. The reason there weren't enough people is because the lady sitting next to me was late on her first day of class, y'all. First class, first day of college, late.
That's because, listen, Clark Atlanta back in the day in the 90s, we met in the 90s. It was different, and our class was in the gym. It wasn't just in the gym.
In the basement.
It was in the basement of the building where the gym used to be. And clearly, this is my first time on this campus, and I had walked around the campus prior to the first day of classes. But why would you ever think that your class is going to be in the basement of the building where the gym is? So
your speech class.
Your speech class. So I was late that day.
So you showed up, and I'll be real. I was like, because when she walked in,
what's beep?
I was like, damn.
Oh,
because when you walked in, girl, I was like, oh my goodness, she fine. I need to know who she is. So then the professor says, hey, we need a volunteer. I was all out of character, but I was like, I'll volunteer. And I ended up being her partner.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of how we met.
That is definitely how we met. That was the real story. Good job.
Well, I didn't share what you had on because that's really what, had me like, damn.
So that's where the lie is, what I was wearing.
It's not a lie. What happened was she came into class. It was like, August in Atlanta. And I promise she had some long boots on. Or maybe it was just her long legs. I don't know. All I know is I was like, damn.
Because clearly nobody wears knee-high and thigh-high boots in August in Atlanta, Georgia.
It might have been cold that day.
It wasn't cold.
Oh.
It was not cold. But yeah.
It was cold when you walked in, though.
So, thank you, baby. So, yeah, we are, I guess, what you can call college sweethearts. And the rest, as they say, is history. And you'll find as we go through this podcasting journey together, you'll learn more about us, the ups and downs in our relationship, how we became an actual couple. But yeah, that's how we met. We met in college, and he's been stuck on me.
I have been. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah.
August 1996.
I have been. Yeah, and I ain't afraid to say it.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't saying it like it was a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. So then I guess that would bring us to, why do we start this podcast? Why is it important? Yes, we've known each other for a very long time. We've practically grown up together, become adults together. But why? This is something that we talked about years ago. Literally, I just listened to an intro that I created for our podcast, and I recorded it in 2011.
Well, actually, before we get to the why, what does Naked Proverbs even mean? I like the naked part because to me, naked is all about being fully unclothed, being truly transparent, letting your most intimate self just be free. So to me, that's that naked part. Then we've got the Proverbs, right? Now, what's that all about?
So the Proverbs piece is really very simple when you think about it.
I'm thinking. And what's so simple about the Proverbs?
So what's so simple about the Proverbs is the literal definition of Proverbs. I think a lot of us are familiar with Proverbs in the Bible, the Christian Bible, the Holy Bible, the book of Proverbs. And we know those scriptures or those verses in that book to be very simple, concrete sayings. So the literal definition of a proverb is a simple, concrete saying that expresses truth based on experience or common sense.
And, there's another type of proverb. It's African proverb.
They're the African proverb.
And I like them. There's that one that talks about it ain't no fun if the rabbit got a gun. I don't know if that's really an African proverb.
What?
It's just saying, that it ain't no fun if the rabbit got a gun. Don't nobody want to hunt when the rabbit got hunting.
Well, I get it, but is that really an African proverb?
I don't know, but my boy says it all the time, so I assume it must be because he's not from Africa, but he's black. So, I guess technically he's, his ancestors are from Africa.
Wait, say it again. What is it?
It ain't no fun if the rabbit got a gun.
Okay, but the rabbit will probably never have a gun.
That's the whole point of a proverb, though. It's that deeper meaning of it all.
Okay.
See?
Now think
about that.
I feel you. I feel you.
All right. So that's what Naked Proverbs is about. But why did we start it? I personally have grown over the years of my marriage. And I would say that I have grown to the point that I couldn't imagine my life any other way than being married to my wife. And in that, I've had the opportunity to counsel and share and talk to people, newlyweds, oldyweds, all these different people. And one thing that I have realized is people don't really talk about marriage. They don't really share the intimate naked part. They want to give you this surface level. You know, it's almost like when you say, how are you doing to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
And you walk away before you even get that real answer because we're so used to people just, I'm good, even if they're not. And so for me, I feel like, you know, this is an opportunity for us to share some of our own ups and downs, our own failures and successes that maybe might help someone else.
How naked we gonna get up in here, though?
Well, you know, I've been working out and I lost some inches around my waist.
You did.
But
you look good, too.
I'm probably stay kind of clothed because we are recording on the video as well.
Okay.
And I don't want nobody to see all this goodness.
They don't need this. That's my goodness.
What you mean, how naked we gonna get?
How transparent are we going to get? How real are we going to get with the people? Different. How blatant, how undisguised, how unclothed are we going to get on this thing?
Anybody that knows us knows that we are who we are. And I look at it like this. If you want to know something or if you want us to share our deepest, darkest moments, it is what it is. We've grown through them. We've progressed. And for me, I couldn't sit here and share if I wasn't in a place where I'm okay with my draws being aired out. So for me, we can go as dark and deep as you want.
Okay, well, all right. For those of you that don't know me personally, I am a very private person. So getting naked on this podcast is going to be a risk for me, but it is also a risk that I'm willing to take and join my partner on this journey. So yeah, I agree. We have a lot of advice that I believe we can give. And the thing that makes us different is that we look at things through such a different lens, and we've evolved and we've grown, and through that evolution and that growth, we've grown closer together and not further apart over the years. And I also think that it's important to say, because I did reference the Bible when I was talking about the Proverbs, that this is not a Christian podcast. Yes, there's going to be references to Christianity because our backgrounds are in Christianity, but this isn't going to be one of those Christian podcasts.
You heard me say, damn! Let's be real. Look, you know what?
You heard your pastor say that.
For me, you know, I mean, I'm a PK. If you don't know what that means, I'm a pastor's kid, right? I grew up in the church, literally and figuratively. But at the end of the day, to me, marriage is bigger than just the church. And it's very important that we understand that there are some broken marriages in the church. There are some broken pastors and wives out there that need to be listening to Naked Proverbs so they can be real with themselves. So for me, I don't want to get all off into the Bible and getting into debates about what the Word of God says, because that's not what this is about. Mm-hmm. This is to me, this podcast is for the everyday person that either is married or is looking to be married. Some advice that can just help you get through those moments that are hard, some success stories that'll make you laugh, some stories that might make you cry. But at the end of the day, this it can't be all about Christianity. Not on my podcast.
No, not
now
on
what?
Yeah. No.
What you gonna say? Who gonna check me, boo?
Who gonna check you? I'm not.
As we stated in the beginning, we've been married for 18 years. So we thought, what better way to kick off Naked Proverbs than to give 18 tips for a happy marriage.
And it's not just the fact that we've been married for 18 years. It is our 18th wedding anniversary today, the day that this podcast is launching. And another significant reason about the number 18 for us is that we met each other when we were 18 years old. So 18 years of marriage, we met when we were 18 years old, and we have 18 tips for you.
Plus, 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. And we're talking about 18. Tip number 1. Wives, your husband is always right. Don't tune out. We got 17 more of these.
Number 2, husbands. This is for the husbands. I hope y'all listening. Listen, your wife is always right, period.
Okay. Now, we really can't just put a period in after these first 2. Let's be real.
Okay.
No one is ever always right. And when we sat down and we started coming up with these tips, I came out with this one very off the top, like, your husband's always right. And my wife laughed. And then I said, no, the truth of the matter is no one person can always be right. But you both do have an opinion, and it should be shared respectfully, but it should be shared and respected. It shouldn't be ignored. It shouldn't be belittled. You shouldn't feel like you can't share what you believe to be your truth.
Your truth. And I think that's the important thing, is that as a wife, it is my job to listen and to ensure that my husband feels secure to be able to tell me whatever it is, and whether or not it makes me uncomfortable, right? We don't agree on everything. Shocker, but we're two different people, and we have had two different life experiences. And although we've been on this journey together since we were 18 years old, we still have had very different life experiences. And with that comes different perceptions and different realities. And it's very important that you understand and you accept and you respect those differences in each other, especially when it's coming to who's right and who's wrong. I mean, who's the judge of that?
Unfortunately, in society, we hear things like a happy wife, a happy life. But that's not really true. Your marriage shouldn't be based around one person's happiness. Because if it's based around one person's happiness, then that means one person's unhappy, possibly. And how can you have a marriage unless you're both working together?
The more updated proverb for that is happy spouse, happy house.
Number 3. Compromise. Now, you just heard my wife say that, we don't agree on everything, right? This tip is my tip, because my wife does not really believe in compromise.
I don't.
She does compromise. She may not realize it, but she does not believe in compromise. Mm-hmm. To me, compromise is not compromising your beliefs or your values or, your principles, the things that you stand on. But compromise is understanding that, you always can't have it your way. It's not about everything's going to be your way or the highway. You have to understand that there sometimes are moments where you have to meet in the middle so that you can still have success and move forward.
Well, for me, I think, let me explain. I don't really believe in the traditional concept of compromise. Because what that concept really says is that you give up something, and then we meet in the middle. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like that prescribes or subscribes to that whole thought process of marriage should be 50-50. And I don't believe marriage should be 50-50. I don't believe marriage should be 80-20. I believe marriage should be 100% from the husband, 100% from the wife, and it should be that. So if I'm giving up something and you're giving up something, how does that work? Like, I just can't wrap my head around that. So yeah.
Well, let's just compromise and say that I'm right, because the number one says, "Wives, your husband is always right."
Okay.
All right, that's
I
fair.
can roll with that.
Hey, and you know what? That leads us to number 4. Communication. It's important that you talk to your spouse, that you have assigned time that you guys just communicate. And that doesn't mean good morning, how was your day? Not those canned, conversations, but have real communication, real conversations, real in-depth opportunities to get to know each other better, to share those deeper things that are going on in your life. And with that communication, it's important that one of you is actually listening. You can't have two people talking all the time. My wife always tells me I kind of step on her when she's talking, so I try to be more aware. But it's important that you are listening to your spouse.
Well, because communication is just not verbal communication, right? Communication comes in all types of forms and fashion, and you mentioned listening. That is a form of communication. It is a very important form of communication. Your nonverbal communication is very important also. You could be listening, actively listening, but if your facial expression or you're rolling your eyes and doing all types of crazy things with your body language, what types of signals and communication is that leaving? And then along the lines of communication, I think that in 2019, 2019 and as we're heading into 2020, which is crazy to me, there are way too many ways to communicate for spouses to go a whole day, a whole work day, a whole weekend if they're traveling and not communicate with each other. Like, that just blows my mind. You can email, you can text, you can FaceTime, you can phone call. This isn't the 90s where Rich and I met and all we did were write letters.
I still have those letters.
That's
want you
funny.
To know.
Oh, that's cute.
Maybe we should go read them one day.
I think we should. They would
We
be
can read them on
hilarious.
Naked Proverbs.
Oh my
If
God.
you want to hear us read some of our old letters to each other on Naked Proverbs, make sure you comment below and let us know that.
Let us know. That would be pretty awesome. So yeah, communication is definitely important in a relationship. The next tip that we have for you is sex is not intimacy. Okay. And I think that with a lot, I don't want to speak for men because I'm not a man, but I would say that a lot of men probably confuse that, thinking that, well, I'm having sex with her or him, whatever your preference is.
I would say we don't confuse it. But when I read the definition of intimacy, right, it says a private, cozy atmosphere, an intimate act. It says close familiarity or friendship, closeness. How much closer can you get other than sex, right? But
That's
you know
physical.
what? Seriously, you're right. Even though that is the definition of intimacy.
Yeah.
Intimacy is so much deeper than just a physical thing. Because when you become really intimate with someone, you really begin to see their heart. You really begin to see who they are. And the more that I learned what intimacy was, the deeper our relationship grew, the roots to our relationship, and the closer we became. Because I would agree that most men, and, you know, I can say it because I'm a man. If y'all don't like it, oh, well, you just don't like it. I don't really care. Come see me. But, you know, at the end of the day, most men, sex is what we believe is intimate. I mean, it is a form of intimacy, but it doesn't stop there.
Number 6 is time for yourself. It is so very important. And yes, we are married. Yes, we are partners. Yes, I enjoy his company. He makes me laugh. He's hilarious. He's super smart. He's super fine. So for me, time by myself to recharge, especially if you're like me and you're an introvert, and sometimes being around him can be a lot because he's a lot. His personality is much more extroverted than my personality. And I think that time for yourself is so important, because what better way to learn who you are as a person than to start to spend some real intimate time by yourself.
And, you know, and I would say that time for yourself is not always just time by yourself. Men, it's important that your wives get some time with their girls. Wives, it's important that your husbands get some time with the boys. Now, you need to respect your marriage and understand that, you know, the people you choose to spend that time with can impact your marriage. So it's okay, though, for you to break away and just go spend some time with the guys. And like, for me, I have a house full of women. You know, I mean, I have a wife and 2 daughters, and even our dog is a little lady, right? So for me, it's nice sometimes just to go hang out with the boys and laugh a little bit, or watch some football, or say something stupid, or maybe just pass gas and nobody cares.
What?
But I'm just saying, I mean, you know, I can't do those things necessarily without somebody in this house getting upset. So, you know, you got to be real about it.
Yeah, it's time for yourself. So important.
We want to talk about the M word. What's the M word? Money. Yes. You know what? There are so many people that end up having issues in their marriage because of money. Now, I told you this wasn't going to be biblical, but I think the Bible says something about money is the root of all evil. I don't know. I don't really get it.
Is that really in the Bible?
I don't know. I just, you know, I think somebody said it sometime at one point to me, and I just believed it. But, you know, really, though, you have people that have separate accounts, joint accounts, secret accounts, undercover accounts, his and her accounts, our account.
how you deal with your money is how you deal with your money in your relationship. We personally, from day one, because we didn't have no money in our account, it was just had a name on it. And you couldn't even write no check or nothing because there wasn't no money in there. But we've always had joint accounts. And it's worked well for us. And I think that it's important to have these conversations with your potential spouse or even with your spouse. And, I have some friends that got married late in life. So for them, they have separate accounts because, well, they each amass their own mini fortunes and they kind of pay bills together and do things together. But they felt that it was easier for them to have separate accounts. But ultimately, you should never let money be the downfall of your marriage.
No, I mean, it's just a very simple concept that I think I want to drive home here when it comes to money. And my husband, he knows this. He's on board with this. He accepts this and he lives by this. And that is, my money is my money and his money is my money. Okay.
That's true. You know what? All the money that comes to this house, my wife knows about every penny, as she should. And, to go a little deeper on money, money can be an issue if you're using it to control your spouse, if you're using it because you don't really trust your spouse, so you have secret accounts that they don't know about because you're not all in. You're worried about, well, what if they leave me? What if they walk away from this marriage? So if you have some of those deeper things going on, you need to really seek counseling and figure out what your reasoning behind it is.
For us in our own marriage, there has been times where you've made all the money. There have been times when I made all the money.
Woo, make the money, mama.
There's been times where neither one of us was making any money.
Oh, don't be telling that, girl. Don't be letting all the cats out the bag. No, she's right.
You said we was gonna be naked.
She's right. There's been times we was poor. Poor. We ain't poor now.
We're not poor. For me, what money does is it builds trust, right? When I had to completely depend on him for my literal livelihood, that was a test of my faith and it's a test of my trust.
Number 8, don't use sex as a punishment. Sex was not created to be something negative. Society can build it into being something that's very negative
and perverted.
But sex in a marriage should be something that is
great,
amazing,
awesome,
woo,
make
your toes curl,
make your toes curl,
all that good stuff, right? But it can also be used as a weapon. Unfortunately, there are men and women that will withhold sex from their spouse because they're not getting something else that they want, or they can withhold sex because they're frustrated, they're mad, or they're angry. And instead of actually talking out their situation and communicating, number 4 from up top, or figuring out what's really going on, they withdraw. There's always that, well, you can go sleep on the couch kind of thing. One of our old pastors used to tell me,
or he ain't getting none of this tonight.
That ain't what he used to tell me.
That's what I'm just, okay.
One of my old pastors used to tell me, I ain't never slept on the couch. He was like, because I'm paying the bills up here. He said, we can both go to bed mad, but I ain't sleeping on no couch.
And I've said that because that's the way people use sex as a punishment.
Oh, because I had said what my old pastor used to say, and then you said, he ain't getting none of this tonight. And I was like, he ain't never said that to me.
Right. But using sex as a punishment, holding out because one or the other ain't acting right or doing right. That is, yeah.
Yeah,
we advise against that. We advise against that.
Because then you're going to be mad if they go somewhere else. Like, don't do that. That's not good.
But that's a whole different conversation. We ain't even going to go there on this one.
You're right.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation because while you are not using sex as a punishment, you need to be having sex.
That's number 9.
Yes, you need to have sex.
It should be a regular part of your life. It is a way for you to grow closer together and to be more intimate and to really get to know one another. Because once again, when you are having sex, you are choosing to be naked. You are choosing to let your spouse see you in all of who you are.
So it's not just the physical aspect of sex that makes it binding and draws you closer. It's the trust that you are putting into your spouse. It is the vulnerability that you can have during sex. So it's important to have sex. It builds your marriage. It builds your relationship. This is a big one. Don't use the D word.
Which one?
The D word.
The D word. Well, the only D word that comes to my mind, I want to use that word.
Ooh, girl.
Hey,
we
just got done talking about sex.
Being naked. Now you're being nasty.
We just got done talking about sex, and you talking about don't use the D word.
Okay. The divorce.
Oh, okay.
That word should not even be in your vocabulary when you are married.
Unless you really want to get a divorce.
Right. It shouldn't be
a threat.
A threat. One of the things they used to say when I was in the military is you don't pull out your gun or your weapon to make a threat. If you pull it out, it's because you have to use it, because it's a situation where you're going to have to defend yourself. And to me, the D word is the same thing. I shouldn't say it to get my way. I shouldn't say it because I'm throwing a tantrum. I shouldn't say it to try to put fear into my spouse.
We should just get a divorce then.
Right. If you're not really feeling that, and make sure that you're really feeling that. I mean, because that's kind of permanent and it's kind of a big deal, right? In some states, you're going to lose half everything. So think about that.
It's cheaper to keep a...
Think about that before you throw that out there, because that was something I actually learned in a class that I took, marriage class that I took, and they talked about that. Like, if you don't even have that on the table, then that means you're going to figure out how to work through whatever the situation is. And statistically, they say that people that get divorced, once you've done it once, it's easier and you have less success rate in future marriages. So just understand that it shouldn't really be something that you even bring up or put on the table unless it's really that's where you are. And if that's where you are and you feel like you've done all you can do and, it's just not a safe environment or whatever it is, look, do you.
Do you, boo?
We are moving through these. Number 12 is...
We're on number 11, baby.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because I like number 11. Date each other.
Yes.
Oh, man.
There's no better way to me to make connections with your spouse than by dating each other. Getting away from the children if you have them, the dogs if you have them. And there's nothing wrong with having the dates at home because we have those a lot. Yeah. But if you really want to start to make a connection and get to know your spouse as a spouse, take some time to really date each other and don't just go out to eat and stay on your phone the whole time. No. But put the phones away and spend some quality time together. What Martin Lawrence say in You So Crazy? Quality time. That's what he said. Quality time. Okay. And I think that's what dating each other is about. It's not necessarily about the location of the date. It's about making time to connect with your spouse. I don't care if you have toddlers. I don't care if you have infants. I don't care if you have teenagers. I don't care if you're empty nesters. I don't care if you've been married for 45 years. You need to be dating each other.
You have to date each other. And you know what? It shouldn't become a burden. It shouldn't become, oh, well, he needs to find out where we're going because that's his responsibility. You know what, women? We like to be courted and dated and treated like we're special too. So don't feel like you can't come up with an amazing afternoon, evening, morning.
I don't know.
And it doesn't have to be anything, huge. It could be something as simple as we're going to walk to the mailbox and hold hands and just talk, or we're going to walk around the block, or we're going to go grab ice cream. I think sometimes people get caught up when we talk about dating on, it's going out to the movies or race car driving or whatever it is that you like to do, right? And doing it big. You have dinner at the most expensive restaurant, but dating can be something as simple as going to the park, sitting at the park bench and watching the sunset.
That is true, but let's be clear, just so our listeners know, my husband comes up with the best ideas. And over the years, I have come up with some ideas that were very successful.
Wait a minute. Remember the time you had a singing lady come to my door?
It was a singing telegram,
whatever.
Yes.
Singing telegram. Oh, my God.
I thought it was a great... thought it was a great idea. I thought it was romantic. I thought that, what better way to surprise my husband with an invitation to go on a date. Okay. And I planned this whole
This
thing.
woman couldn't sing. She
But
showed
that's
up
not
looking
the
like
only-
a clown.
That's not the only time I flopped. I mean, I'm just not as good as a gift giver as you are.
That's okay, but
But
it's the thought that counts.
Oh, but you were pissed.
I might have been having a bad day that day, though.
You were angry.
Yeah, because she was stupid.
He was rude to the woman.
I almost slammed the door in her face.
I was so embarrassed.
I thought she was trying to sell something. I was like, I'm not interested.
My feelings were hurt. And the funny thing is that the girls were little when that happened, but they remember that.
That is so funny.
Go figure.
Okay. What number are we on? Number 12.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate each other's successes. That's a perfect segue out of, a failure. But it's important to celebrate each other's successes. My wife recently won this huge award. And we're sitting at this table, with all of our friends and family. And someone looked at me and they said, "Are you jealous?" And it blew my mind because in our marriage, and even with our children, there's no jealousy. It's like we truly support one another and we love to see when we have success. Because when that person said that to me, at first I kind of looked at them like they were crazy. Then I said, you know what? My wife's success is my success. And I'm not going to sit here and say she's only successful because of me because, well, that's not really accurate. But I know that my successes in life couldn't happen without the support of my wife.
And vice versa.
Without her pushing me to be better. So it's important to celebrate when you have a success because oftentimes we kind of just keep it moving, especially when you're married, you have kids, you've got work, you've got life, you got all these things going on. So you have a success and you just keep it rolling like, oh, congratulations, you keep it rolling. But we actually try to make sure that we celebrate when anything minor, major happens because tomorrow's not promised. So enjoy today. Enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the moment. Live in the moment. This next one is for the wives, the ones who are taking the role of the wife in these partnerships and these marriages. And that is do not treat your husband like a child. 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 I hear it way too many times.
Oh, yeah, no.
So many women will sit around with other women, and sometimes their husbands are present and sometimes their husbands are not. And they'll say, yeah, I have 3 children. When in reality, they only have 2 children, but they're counting their husband as one of their children. That to me is so disrespectful and it emasculates. And as a Black woman, we are accused of demasculating or emasculating.
I don't even know how to spell it.
Okay, well, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Let me Google it. Hold on. Got this computer in front of me.
Taking that masculinity away from our men and making them feel less than men. And there is no faster way to do that than to treat your husband like a child or to tell other people and count your husband as one of your children. That to me is a no. Your husband is a man. Okay. He's your man. This is my man. And he is not a child.
And the words emasculate.
Thank you. I'm glad I was using it correctly.
You were using it correctly. Our next item is
we want to embrace growth and evolution. When Rich and I met, we were 18 years old. And we had no idea that we were going to be sitting next to each other 23 years later, celebrating 18 years of marriage. And here's the deal, y'all. We were married young. And even if you're not married young, as long as you're on this earth, as long as you are alive and breathing and able, you should be growing and evolving. I shouldn't be the same person that I was at 18 years old when I met my husband as I am today. I shouldn't be. If I am, there's something wrong. And for anybody to expect their husband or their wife to be the same person that they were the day that they got married, you are sadly mistaken. Something is wrong with you. Maybe you weren't the one that is growing. Because we all should be growing. We all should be evolving. We all should be changing. Our opinions should change. Our minds should change. Our philosophies, our perceptions, our thought processes should change. They should grow. And we should support each other in that. We shouldn't shun each other and say, well, you're not the man I married. Well, no, we've been married 18 years. If you were still the same man that I married 18 years ago, I'm telling you right now, we wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast called Naked Proverbs because we wouldn't be married anymore.
Wait a minute. You used the D word?
I didn't use the D word.
Oh. You know what? I mean, reality is if you are not growing, you are dying. And that's just nature. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. If the tree in your backyard stops growing, it is going to die. So it's important that you understand that in your marriage, you are going to grow individually as well as together. And that is the key, is that as you're growing, you shouldn't be growing apart. If you're growing apart, then you need to stop and reevaluate and figure out what's going on. Why is it that you're growing and maybe your spouse isn't? Or maybe, you're both growing, but you're growing in your careers and you're growing your separate ways. If you want to have a healthy, strong marriage, you need to make sure that as you're growing individually, you're also growing together.
So in growth, my husband just said it a couple seconds ago. Sometimes you'll grow together. Sometimes one to grow and the other is not necessarily growing at the speed or the rate that you think they should be growing. And that's when you have to learn how to love them where they are, accept them where they are, because the rate of your growth, the rate of my growth isn't going to be the same as his. And I shouldn't expect it to be. We're completely different people. And had we have started this podcast in 2011 like we were going to, it would be totally different from then to what it would be now. It would be completely different because we were two completely different people 8 years ago. So love them where they are. And I want to say again, that which is not growing is dead. But just because somebody is stagnant for a while, it doesn't mean that they're not growing. But you have to love them even in that stagnation and encourage them and support them and show them how great growth could be.
And you have to remember that in any relationship in your life, there's only one person who you can truly control, and that's yourself. So whether your spouse is growing at the rate you believe they should be or not, whether you are just, super special and you're growing like a weed, don't belittle them. Don't hold that over their head. Well, I've got a degree and you still are with a high school diploma, or whatever the case is. Understand that you can't change someone by being angry, by treating them unlovingly. You have to understand that as long as you love them where they are, they will eventually either choose to move forward with you, or it'll reach a point where they've been left behind. And then that's a whole different discussion, but you can't change someone. So focus on loving them where they are and being the best you know how to be. And it's not about loving them where they are because you want something. You don't love someone where they are because you want them to have more sex with you, or you want them to hang out with you, or you want them to change their ways. That's not why you're loving them where they are. You're loving them where they are because you truly love them because of who they are.
You just said something, and it's not included in our 18 tips. And it was hard to narrow down just 18, just to be clear. So I'm just going to throw this one in here as a bonus to the bonus that we already have. And that one is the only person that you can change in your marriage is you. You cannot change your spouse.
Nope.
Focusing on all of their flaws and all of their faults and wishing and hoping and praying that these people are going to change to become the person that you think they're going to change. How about you work on yourself? How about you become that person? Like, are you everything that your spouse wants you to be? And if the answer is no, then you got some work to do.
There's always room for self-improvement. Always. I don't care who you are. You can always be better.
That's right.
All right. Number 16. Attend events with your spouse. This is not about date night. This is totally opportunity for you to be there for your spouse, to support them, to make sure that people know you exist.
That's right.
I'm be real. I mean, everybody talk about you got a work husband, a work wife. Well, I want to make sure your work husband know who your real husband is. So I'm gonna show up at the work Christmas party or whatever it is, and it's not just so they can see who I am, but it's because you know what, you deserve that. Your spouse deserves that. They deserve to walk into a room with you, with them.
I agree. I think it is important when you're married to be cohesive, to be a unit. And it's one thing if one partner is out of town, right? And they can't make it, and it's an event that you need to go to. And when I say event, I'm talking something as small as a birthday party for the kids or something like that. You need to go together. You need to let people know that this right here is a unit. This right here, we are partners, we are a team, and we are cohesive, right? Because when you start separating the unit and people start to wonder, people are listening, and it's not about what people think. It's not about what people think. It is more about showing up as the married couple, as the unit that you are, and letting people know that, you know what, this is unbreakable. This is unbreakable. We come to something as simple as the 2-year-old birthday party together, or something as grand as the inauguration of Barack Obama.
Yeah, we were there. You didn't know.
We did.
Just gonna throw that out there.
We were at the ball. We went to a ball. Actually, I'll post some pictures on our Facebook page.
I like
of
that.
us at the inauguration of Barack Obama in 2009. Yeah, it was 2009. It was his first.
I don't know.
We didn't go to the second one.
I'm not good with numbers.
I'm not either. Anyway.
So, speaking of numbers, number 17, and I think this is a great kind of segue. Be imaginative. I think that a great way to have a strong, healthy marriage is to imagine where you want to be. My wife and I have had some amazing conversations driving from where we currently reside to go see my parents back in the day. And we would talk about one day. If you are talking about one day, then you will have one day. But if you can't even imagine what your life is going to be like in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and that doesn't mean it's going to be this exact picture of what you talked about, but having an imagination together and talking about those simple things like, what if we won the lottery? What will we do? You can find out a lot about your spouse when you start having these kind of conversations, because you might find out that, we got different goals. Well, let's figure out why that is. And it's not to create strife in your marriage, but have an imagination. And that imagination is more than just dreaming about tomorrow. That imagination is in the bedroom. That imagination is for date night. You need to have an imagination so that your marriage doesn't become this stale, crusty, old just thing.
Stale and crusty.
Yeah, that's what. If you don't have no imagination,
we don't want that. Ew, that.
All right, hey, number 18. This is yours.
This is for real, y'all. This is for real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. If it won't matter 5 years from now, then don't spend more than 5 minutes upset about it. Seriously, there are so many times, even in our own marriage, where we would be fussing about something, and then the next day, a week later, we don't even remember what it was, and we were mad, for days.
Heated.
I mean,
blood pressure all
high, heart racing, sweating, veins popping out your head. We were mad. And then I finally got to the point, you know what? Listen, if he pisses me off, because he does, as much as I love him, he gets on my nerves. And I know I get on his nerves too. Don't act brand new. Don't act brand new. Look.
You got on my nerves yesterday. Anyway.
And you got on my nerves too. But in that moment, I said, you know what? Is this going to matter in 5? I literally asked myself, is this going to matter in 5 years? And the answer was no. So then it's like, well, oh well, let me get out my feelings and get over myself and start to lean on some of that self accountability that I should have at my age as a person and my age in this marriage, and be like, you know what, dude, that don't even matter. Does that mean that we shouldn't have a discussion about it? That's
No.
not what that means.
Exactly.
Because we still should have a discussion about it. We still should be open to communicating with each other about how we're feeling and
Right.
whether or not we agree. Because again, we are two different people. Just like you are in your marriage, you are two different people. You are two imperfect people coming together to try to create, in your mind, might be perfection. Like, that's impossible to do. So if it doesn't matter, if it is not going to matter in 5 years, do not spend more than 5 minutes being angry about it, but still allow that space and that opportunity to have that discussion and to have that conversation, because I think that's what's going to be more memorable than the thing that made you mad in the first place. You're going to remember that conversation and the dialogue that happened between you and your spouse, but you probably won't remember in 5 years what you were mad about, so angry about.
And just understand that this is not about sweeping it under the rug, like my wife said. It is about understanding that don't blow it out of proportion and make it into this big thing, when the truth is you could have just had conversation about it, moved on, and had some growth. And now, bonus tip. It's the for real bonus tip, because like the other one was just like, ooh, that was a good one. We should have had 19 tips, maybe next year.
We should have 22.
So, bonus tip. Don't give up. I don't care how bad your marriage may seem. I don't care how dark the night may be. I promise you it gets better. And as you guys listen to our podcast, you're going to hear some of those dark moments, some of those moments where most people would say, hey, y'all love each other? Like, y'all are where you are? I mean, there are things that have happened in our marriage that no one knows but us. And yet, we still stand here together, madly in love, because we didn't give up. So that is the bonus tip. And if you don't remember anything else out of these 18, don't forget that. Don't give up.
I would like to put a caveat to that. And when I counsel other wives, young wives, or wives that have been married longer than me, I always say, well, is he cheating? Is he beating? Because there are times when you may want to consider exiting the marriage if it's an unhealthy environment, emotionally, physically.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there, because we are not encouraging anyone to stay in a toxic situation. But let's be clear, sometimes what we call toxic isn't really toxic. And those are things that can be worked through. And I remember that same pastor that you had referred to earlier about sleeping on the couch. He used to always say, and this might actually be biblical. Okay. And that is, the end of the thing is always better than the beginning. 18 is far better than year number 1, year number 2, year number 17, yes, even. So don't give up, because it does get better. Marriage is a journey. It is not a destination. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And that is it, y'all. I hope that you found some value in those 18 or 22 tips that we just gave you in celebration and in honor of our 18th wedding anniversary. We want you to have a truly happy marriage. We want you to continue to thrive within your marriage and indulge in your spouses on a regular basis. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcast on, and tune in next week.
Peace out.